Hello. I learned a term. I didn't learn the term. I knew about this term um, for quite some time, actually. I knew about this term, but I didn't really fully look into it because I knew it was just like a complete like shitstorm spiritually, right? And I'm talking about the dark night of the soul. And for this past year, my family and we've been on this whole entire experience. And it's literally been a journey where we practically have lost everything. I don't want to say lost because I don't really feel like you lose anything. I feel like it's a loss. Okay, that's the meaning of it. But I feel like in the loss there is always a gain, something better. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by I don't believe in loss. And it wasn't until this week that we were talking, and I share my stuff with you guys because our experiences are meant to be shared, right? Why else would we go through them? And we have literally people, places, business, everything that we have done throughout the years. Everything. I'm talking about our business of 10 years. This was just not something that, everything that we had some type of value and comfort in. The moment we started to see that, hey, I feel like we deserve more. I feel like we can do more. I feel like, we deserve more freedom because we had our business, but we were always on the business. You know what I mean? Like the business did not allow for us to do some of the things that we wanted to do, like travel freely or just, we had our business, but it was still like, you were clocking in every single day because the business was physical and it just required that. So the moment that everybody started seeing like, okay, we need to pivot to something else that allows us more, more time, more freedom for us to be able to go do the things that, we desire to do. Everything from that moment on started to crumble. Not before though. Before all of that started to crumble and leave, I had just purchased my cards and I had just started learning, okay? And I'm self-taught and I read intuitively and I go by what I receive, messages and downloads. And I was just learning. Probably like 2 years before any of this ever happened, I was learning. And throat chakra has been on and off like this. So we need to speak up more. I was learning about my own path, my own gifts. And like I said, this week, the topic became the dark night of the soul. And I was like, I've heard of that before, but I had never really looked into it. And when I looked into it, absolutely everything that was described, absolutely everything that people experience with this is exactly what we've been going through because we were so frustrated because, I have always been, I've been an executive administrative assistant my whole life, okay? I started out with I started out with my dad basically doing his reports and all that stuff. So I have been doing this since I was like 16 years old and I'm 46. So I have extensive experience in software, in anything, okay, that you can possibly imagine. I've done bookkeeping, I've done taxes, I've done it all. And throughout this experience, I was like, okay, we've lost everything pretty much, right? So I'm going to go ahead and find something remote or find something where we can go ahead and keep moving as we continue to figure things out. It has not worked out that way. And no matter what I did, no matter what any of us have done, it has not panned out the way, it would have normally panned out, to the point where you have certain people looking at you like, oh, well, you just, it's almost like, oh, you just don't want to do anything. But that's not it. You know what I mean? I mean, that's not it. We've had our business. We're not people that just don't want to do anything. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's because it wasn't only the physical that needed to crumble, it was the inside that needed to go. And as I was writing about this, it is all started to hit me. You know what I mean? People leaving us left to right, friends, family, people just looking down on us, and you know, it's almost like we couldn't catch a break. It was one thing after the other. Then, you know, you can't really, it's almost like you're being blocked from finding anything but yourself and your purpose. And for a person who has always struggled with trusting, you're left with nothing to do but trust. And that's where we are right now. I don't know who else may be experiencing this, but I wrote down a couple things: dark night of the soul, monitoring spirits, spiritual attacks, distractions. These are all things that I'm going to start talking about, because these are experiences that we've been having for this whole year. We've been having that. I feel like every time we're not close, we're here. We're actually living out our purposes and starting to trust more and saying, you know, I'm just going to sit here and do what I know is my purpose. The distractions and the attacks get heavier, right? So I started to write in Dark Night of the Soul, a complete reset of your very soul, right? And this past week, I was able to see that what you feel intuitively is for a reason. So I've been feeling for like the past month that I kept telling the family, I feel like this is more than just a physical reset. I feel like it's a mental, like a spiritual reset. I feel like it's more of an inner reset than anything else, because you don't experience the outer without the inner, right? The inner comes first, and that's what needs to crumble first. But for us, what crumbled was the physical, and that standstill point, that point of us just being still and not being able to do anything but rest, but look into ourselves, but reflect. You had no choice but to, led to the spiritual reset, like the spiritual crumbling. Now your mindset is not the same, because we were like, whoa, like we don't even think the same as we did last month. It's insane. It's almost like you're jumping from version to version to version like this. You know what I mean? And it's almost like you're just shedding old versions of you quick and in a hurry. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just told you guys that I've been feeling for the longest time that this experience is not only a tower moment for the physical, the outside, but also for the inside. The spiritual also needed to crumble and be rebuilt, right? And a complete undoing of what you've known as life, to come to know who you are and the true life you are chosen to live. And then once I started to realize the stuff from the inside, I heard your eyes again. Your eyes, I reach out from the inside, right? Reaching out from the inside. It's all starting to make sense. I feel like all the messages are starting to come together. You're reaching out from the inside, because that's where it starts, right? So let me keep reading. A death of what you've known, everything you've been or had to be reborn stronger, healthier, wiser than you can ever imagine. This process is painful, it's frustrating. As you navigate through past pain, you find out that what you used to do to make a living, survive, and exist is no longer an option, and now need to fully trust in spirit and also in this new found version of yourself. For some of us we've had trust issues since the beginning of time, we have now been thrown into an existence and experience where we have no choice but to trust. And I feel like that's where the coming and the going has been. Because one moment you feel like, yes, I feel it, I got it all together. And then the next moment you're questioning, you're doubting, you're fearful. You're like, well, what if I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm not? And what if this experience extends longer? And you're going back and forth. But I feel like Spirit is asking us to Just remain where you are. Stop going back and forth. Remain in the version that trusts, remain in the version that's firm, remain in the version that's strong, remain in the version that is now, that has been rebuilt from the crumbling. And stop trying to go back to what has already crumbled. Stop trying to go back to what no longer truly exists, if that makes any sense. We'll keep talking about this.